Hello, this is Peter Watkins, and I'm speaking from a small town in the center of rural France, where my wife and I are now living. I'm very pleased that the Black Mariah Collective is going to be screening Punishment Park in Perth. I've sent a copy of my latest critical public statement to the organizers of the screening, and I hope you'll be able to access this, if possible, before you see the film. Since the late 1960s, I've been raising questions regarding the role of the mass audiovisual media. By this I'm referring to the cinema, TV, and documentary films. What is the role played by these forms of media in the development of contemporary society? And what is the role of cinemas and film festivals? To what degree is this role limited to that of mass entertainment, distraction, and on occasion, aesthetic pleasure? Is that the limit of the experience? Or is there an effect of one kind or another passed on to the public? And if so, is that effect neutral? Is there no relationship between that effect and the immense problems facing our world today? Do we ever discuss these questions? And if so, when and where do we do so? One could surmise that the ideal places for such discussion would indeed be in cinemas, at film festivals, and in the many thousands of school and university classrooms around the world where the cinema and television are taught. But is any of this actually happening? Is there any discussion in these places about the fact that the forms and structures of film have been rigidly standardized since the birth of the cinema in the early days of Hollywood, and that television followed suit in the 1950s, standardized in a way that is completely alien to the development of art, music, and literature, where individual language forms and processes, complex and highly subjective forms, make an absolute mockery of the majority, rigid, hierarchical structures of the mass audiovisual media, whose primary aim appears to be to have a mono impact on mass audiences rather than any form of open, pluralistic communication. In fact, we know that critical public discussion of these issues rarely occurs in cinemas or in film festivals, where the ritual 20-minute monologue by the filmmaker takes the place of any open, interactive discussion with and between the public audience. And on those rare occasions where a proper discussion with the audience is permitted, we know again that it is very rare that the issues of the standardized form are ever raised. We know also that it is increasingly the manner of film teaching in education systems around the world to propagate the myth that the monoform, and I've written about this in my public statement, is the one and only correct film grammar, and that if students do not use this film grammar, that they will never obtain employment in the industries of the mass audiovisual media. And given all these issues, therefore, it is little wonder that a Netflix executive was able to recently boast that Netflix has become the global culture, the global zeitgeist, as he said. And where does Punishment Park fit into this unhappy picture? To what degree does this film challenge these issues, and to what degree has it fallen prey to them? Well, I realize that these are difficult issues and difficult questions, but the world has become a very difficult and troubled place, and it has done so at a speed over which we seem to have so little democratic control. and to deny that the mass audiovisual media do not have a responsibility, a shared responsibility, for this crisis is just sheer lunacy. I know fully well that there are filmmakers, young and not so young, who are struggling to break free from the professional shackles and to find genuinely alternative ways of communicating with the public. I know how hard this struggle can be, but I also know how rewarding. Of course, I don't mean to express this situation just in terms of the present. The entire history of the audiovisual media, especially of the cinema and documentary film, has shown us amazing examples in the past of what these forms of media can create in the way of alternative modes of expression. But the tragedy is that we are not allowed to learn from these examples and to use that learning experience to bring dynamic change to the so-called grammar of film. This does not only affect filmmakers, it affects the public, who are consequently denied the possibility of a far more pluralistic choice of film form and interactive process. Let's be clear here. There is no democracy whatsoever in the way the mass audiovisual media function at present. Well, I'll stop here. I'm very sorry not to be able to discuss these issues with you in person, but please know that anyone who wishes to do so can contact me via the form mail on my website, and I'd be very pleased to hear from you. Thank you again for screening my work, and especially for allowing these questions to be raised. Goodbye.